Just as the Igbo's faith is mandatory to Igbo society, the religion also comes with some social, political attachments. In Nigeria at this time, the government was European-led, major center of government, and these Europeans were very brutal to the people of the Igbo society. The government of the Igbo people were closely related to their religious beliefs. White men always said that the Igbo laws are foolish. So they imposed all of their laws in Nigeria. In a non-spiritual sense, the elders of the Igbo society are responsible for maintaining order in society, so, the elders are simply carrying out what their wisdom tells them is the will of the gods. The Igbo are a very important part of the governmental system of the Igbo people. They're the 9 spirits/founders of the villages. They are the most important beings to the Igbo people, other than the gods. When there is a dispute that the elders cannot decide, the Igbo are summoned to resolve the issue. This could be compared to the judicial system of the United States, where the elders are the state, district courts, and the Igbo are similar to the Supreme Court. The decision of the Igbo cannot be retreated. In southern Nigeria, the Igbo is the second largest group living there. Although they are very diverse and spread out among Nigeria, they all speak one language. Traditional Igbo marriages, known as Igbankwụ, involve the husband, wife, parents, other extended family and the village. The weddings are now mainly held in churches but still varies from village to village. Like Greek mythology, for how everything came to be, the Igbo have folk beliefs. There are explanations for what the heavenly and earthly bodies have and give advice on how to behave toward the god, spirits, and one's ancestors. They also believe there are visible and invisible forces that roam the world, which are the living, the dead, and the yet to be born. What connects the living and the dead is reincarnation. Storytelling, rituals, dancing, and music making are forms of traditional entertainment, but modern forms are things such as watching television and movies, listening to the radio, playing games. Wrestling and soccer are popular sports within the adults and youth. Also, American youth pop culture is popular with things such as rap and rock music. The Igbo and the Ujna are 2 popular instruments in the Igbo society. The Igbo is a triangular-shaped guitar-like instrument played by singers. The Ujna is a small, clay-baked whistle. In the means of traditional occupations, men can practice the skill of carving to make doors, stools, and boxes. For women, they can practice weaving, pottery making, spinning, and grass plaiting. The head of the village is the oldest man of the oldest surviving generation. He would settle disputes and control communication with other villages. The basic unit of life is a village group. The government was usually the oldest members of certain families, since the Igbo do not have a centralized authority. Age and gender are big factors in respect and authority. Elders and males are given respect. They value personal and individual achievements. They value their deceased ancestors. Before the Europeans influenced them, they practiced normal worship to their ancestors. To feel successful, the most universal institution is the role of the family head. The head settles family disputes and controls the channel of communication with the ancestors, earning great respect and reverence. Titles played a major role in the society. You had to go through intense rituals before you acquire a title. Titles are a symbol of character as well as success. Titled man's life dominated by many religious restrictions that must be adhered to, strictly. In the beginning they were not united as a single people but lived in small dispersed groups in the rainforest. The village groups ruled by a council of elder age, lineage heads and influential wealthy men. Age grades are important. Age grades are formed by people born within 3-5 years of each other. Acts as a means to create a peer group. Acted mainly as a socio-cultural institution, initiated by youths at certain age in their adulthood. They choose a respected elder as a patron to facilitate recognition of their grade among elders. They prove themselves for maturity by performing certain tasks. In the old days, they would defend community against hostile enemies. And now, they address basic community development needs. If the elders agree that the age grade performed their tasks successfully, the group will be accepted to adulthood and honored with a name. The maximal lineage assumes mainly symbolic and ritual importance. It also plays an important role in the marriage system, insofar as people of the same lineage, and, accordingly, from the same village, are forbidden to marry or to engage in sexual activity. The major segment is designated as the amana, literally a group of people descended from the same father, but not of the same mother. It occupies a section of the village and owns common lands, which it allocates to its members for housing and farming. It is led by a formal lineage head, the Akpara, who is usually its senior member. In some groups, this individual is the oldest male of the oldest branch of the lineage. In others, he is the oldest male overall. His office derives from the ritual importance of his ownership of a sacred object, the Ofo, a special tree branch, which embodies the spirits of the ancestors. He performs sacrifice to them and also carries out important observances for the earth goddess. The Akpara is the Amana's political leader and its representative to the village's governing council. In both instances, his power is limited because collective pronouncements are never fully binding, and decision-making and administrative actions must follow democratic principles. The minor segment is a branch of the Amana and forms a single compound Isa, within the village. It has its own realm of ritual, economic, and political activities. The compound head, the Obi, makes sacrifices to more immediate ancestors, allocates land near the compound that is used for kitchen gardens, and settle disputes among family members. His activities and decisions must be guided by consultation with his constituents, especially with the heads of the smaller domestic groups that make up the unit. He receives an important perk of office through rights to 1 day of work from his dependents per 4-day week. In addition to group membership, patrilineal descent controls the course of succession and inheritance. When a man who holds an office, such as Akpara or Obi, dies, his status is passed on to his most senior relative within the relevant subdivision, usually a brother or cousin rather than a son. The heir will not only take on the title of the deceased, but will also assume access to or control over any corporate property. He will also be entitled to inherit the dead man's widows, whom he may decide to marry or allocate to other members of the patrilineage. Other than the transfer of family assets, inheritance of personally acquired property, such as crops in the field or trading wealth, will pass on from father to son, usually to the eldest son, who will also assume responsibility for caring for his younger brothers. If siblings cannot cooperate under fraternal leadership, the inheritance can be subdivided. In this case, property is divided according to the number of wives a man has. Each group of full brothers receives an equal amount, which is initially placed under the control of the oldest brother, and each group, an extra share goes to the eldest son, on the basis of actual chronological age. This ranking of the seniority of brothers differs from many African patrilineal systems with polygynous families, where it is determined by the status of their mothers within the household. Usually the son of the most senior wife becomes the main heir. In any event, the senior son becomes the formal family elder and continues to serve as the spiritual and political leader of the unit. He will assume the ownership of the Ofo, if the sublineage controls one. Women do not normally inherit within their families of origin or from their husbands, except to the extent that they can expect to be maintained by their husband's heirs. They can acquire wealth and assets in their own right, which, as personal property, will go to their children. If they are childless, they have the option of producing heirs through woman marriages. If they do not follow this option, their husbands will inherit. While the Amana constitutes the major field for social identification and participation in Igbo society, other institutions also form essential elements in the social order. Some of these, such as the age and title associations, are not kinship-based. Others, such as a person's relations with his or her mother's relatives, the Aman, are closely integrated into the kinship system. In spite of a patrilineal emphasis, the Igbo have developed a special set of relationships with maternal kin that is sometimes called complementary filiation. Through this institution, patrilineally organized people are considered to have special rights in their mother's patrilineages, including several that they do not receive in their own descent groups. Thus, The course of an Igbo's life is marked by continual visits with his or her mother's kin, who, because of the rule of lineage and village exogamy, must always reside in a different settlement. Short stays may be organized for a variety of reasons. Longer ones, lasting for several of years, will occur because of a commission of a crime or involvement in a serious dispute in a person's natal village. During such visits, the guest expects to receive warm hospitality and affectionate and indulgent treatment. He or she will also engage in relaxed interactions, which can involve practical jokes and ribald discussions that would be quite inappropriate in normal contexts. Such joking relationships and the designation of joking kin have been observed in many societies, and we shall investigate a similar, although differently patterned, custom among the Jew/Honsi. See Jew/Honsi joking and avoidance relationships. The specific focus on maternal kin for the Igbo has generally been observed in other patrilineal societies. This practice has been labeled the avunculate and has been explained as a way of counterbalancing the heavy weight of formal and sometimes highly stressful relationships among agnatic kin. Radcliffe Brown 1940. Note that this institution does not indicate an element of matrilineality, which is in fact present in a few Igbo groups. The mother's relatives in this instance are members of a person's mother's patrilineage and do not form a matrilineal group in any sense. Igbo is a polytheistic religion. Chukwu, or Chink, is the major god while Inanwu is the sun god, is the sky god, Amadio is the thunder and lighting god, and Alabama is the earth goddess. Imamiri is the spirit of the river. The Igbo believe that a big river has a spiritual aspect. It is forbidden to fish in such deified rivers. Other spirits are Mbataku, the spirit of wealth, Agu, a spirit envious of others' wealth, always in need of servitors, Ahanjuku or Ifjiaku, the yam spirit, Ikwaro, the drum spirit, and Ikwu, the hearth spirit, which is women's domestic spirit. The Igbo are a profoundly religious people who believe in a benevolent creator, usually known as Chukwu, who created the visible universe, Ura. Opposing this force for good is Agbara, the devil, to which all evil is attributed. There is a strong Igbo belief that the spirits of one's ancestors keep a constant watch over you. The living show appreciation for the dead and pray to them for future well-being. It is against tribal law to speak badly of a spirit. Those ancestors who lived well, died in socially approved ways, and were given correct burial rites, live in one of the worlds of the dead, which mirror the worlds of the living. They are periodically reincarnated among the living and are given the name Niji, the returners. Those who died bad deaths and lack correct burial rites cannot return to the world of the living, or enter that of the dead. They wander homeless, expressing their grief by causing harm among the living. Religion was regarded with great seriousness, and this can be seen in their attitudes to sacrifices, which were not of the token kind. Religious taboos, especially those surrounding priests and titled men, involved a great deal of asceticism. The Igbo expected in their prayers and sacrifices, blessings such as long, healthy, and prosperous lives, and especially children, who were considered the greatest blessing of all. The desire to offer the most precious sacrifice of all led to human sacrifice. Slaves were often sacrificed at funerals in order to provide a retina for the dead man in life to come. For religious practitioners, there are two different kinds of priests: the hereditary lineage priests and priests who are chosen by particular deities for their service, diviners and priests, those empowered with Ofo, the symbol of authority, truth, and justice, interpret the wishes of the spirits, who bless and favor devotees as well as punish social offenders and those who unwittingly infringe their privileges, and placate the spirits with ceremonial sacrifices.